Hi, I'm Beatrice Chestnut, and this is the introduction video to the three Type 3 subtypes. I've interviewed 6 Type 3s, 2 self-preservation 3s, 2 social 3s, and 2 sexual or one-to-one 3s. And in this video, I'll introduce you to the 3 subtypes. So, as we know, the fixation for Type 3, or the mental fixation, the mental focus in a narrow way in the personality, is vanity. And the passion, the emotional passion, the central motivating factor on the heart level is self-deceit. And self-deceit is a way of lying to yourself about who you are. When 3s identify with an image, they often don't recognize that that image isn't all of who they are. So these are concepts that will be important to understand. Vanity is about being the center of things, but also a passion for being important and looking good, especially, and looking successful in the eyes of others. So the self-preservation 3 is a 3 that not only wants to look good, and they do want to look good to others, but also wants to be good. There's a combination of a need for security that the self-preservation brings, as well as the 3 focus on achievement and goals and getting things done and doing and working hard and impressing people. But in the self-preservation 3, this is more focused on being morally good, not just looking good. So self-preservation 3s can actually look like 1s, because they're not only trying to get a lot done and look good doing it, but they want to be the good model of whatever it is they're doing, like to be seen as like a good mother or a good wife or a good husband or a good friend or a good worker in terms of whatever they may be working on. So they don't relate as much to the way 3s often get described as needing a lot of recognition and wanting to look good and being on stage. The self-preservation 3 is more modest, more humble, because they just want to compete against themselves, not against others. And they think that it's bad form to brag or promote yourself too much. So they tend to let the work speak for itself. Let what they do speak for who they are. But they're different than 1s, because 1s have an internal sense of what the right way to be is, whereas self-preservation 3s get their sense of what good is from the outside world. It's good as defined by social consensus. So self-preservation 3s can also be the biggest workaholics on the whole Enneagram. They work harder than all of the other 26 subtypes, but they have the hardest time slowing down from anyone. Because if you think about it, the self-preservation gives this sense of, I got to work hard to earn security, earn enough money, be resourced. And the 3 is also very work-oriented, so it's almost like a turbocharged 3. There's a kind of need to always be working, to not have to depend on anyone else, to not be vulnerable, and just for security. But even more than material security, these 3s have an aura of security around them. It's like they're the kind of person you go to for advice, because they do so much, they seem to know how to do things, very solid. But sometimes they're working so hard they aren't as available for personal connections. So the social 3 it's basically the 3 that you'll read about in most of the books. It's the 3 most of us know about. The self-preservation 3 and the sexual 3 are much less well known, and I didn't even really understand them until I learned this particular approach to the subtypes. But the social 3 is the 3 that most of us know about. The 3 that is seen as being very recognition seeking. The 3 that really wants the applause of the crowd, that enjoys being on stage, that enjoys having a good image and all the good things that come from that. The 3 that doesn't mind sort of displaying icons of success, like, driving the nice car, or wearing the designer clothes. Someone who is more seeking of everyone saying how good they look. as opposed to the self-preservation 3 that's a little more modest and humble. So the social 3 is also a 3 that definitely thinks in terms of the group, that wants to look good in front of everyone, and that's why they can seem like they're more comfortable with getting positive feedback from the outside. Now, the social 3 is also the most competitive of the 3s and a little bit more assertive or sometimes even aggressive because they really want to win. The other 2 may want to win, but it's not going to be as obvious, and they may not feel as comfortable like competing or winning over others because they tend to be a little more oriented towards supporting others, whereas the social 3 really wants to win and look good themselves. They tend to be good at selling and having a really good image, and they have a lot of confidence that anything they can set out to do, they can do really well and look good doing it. Now, the sexual 3, or the 1-to-1 3, as we sometimes call it when we're in certain settings where it's not so good to say sexual, is much more relationship oriented. Now, all 3s are very work oriented, and the sexual 3 is as well. But the sexual 3 is also very oriented toward appealing to others, being attractive, being good, not in the moral sense the way the self-preservation 3 is, but more in the sense of being appealing or attractive, attracting others, being someone that people are drawn to. The name is charisma, and I find it's not just physical attractiveness, but it's a kind of overall attractiveness that they want to have because connections with others, relationships are so important. Also, the sexual 3 is more oriented toward being successful in their support of others. So the sexual 3 is more of a pleaser. They look a little bit more like a 2, whereas the social 3 looks more like an 8, and the self-preservation 3 looks more like a 1. So the sexual 3 looks like a 2 in that they're very relationship oriented and they're very oriented towards supporting others. They can be good coaches or good cheerleaders for others, and they really put a lot of attention into helping others, and they get a sense of satisfaction in being successful when other people succeed, when the people that they support do well. So they can be even kind of upset if the people that they support aren't doing well or aren't taking all of their advice. But it's not so much like taking advice like a 2 might get upset if you don't take their advice. It's more like, I want you to be successful, and I think I know how to make you successful, so I want to do all I can for you to make you look good. The sexual 3 is a little more shy about getting recognition. Of course, they want to look good, and it's a little bit more focused on being appealing, as in attracting a relationship partner, let's say, or a romantic partner. But the sexual 3s have a lot of energy, and it's a little bit more directed toward connection, being appealing. But interestingly, the sexual 3 can be the most emotional of the 3s, but also the one that's most disconnected from themselves. Now, it's important to remember that self-deceit is the passion, and that means, some people think it means 3s lie about themselves, but the important thing to remember is 3s don't do that consciously. It's more that they identify with an image, that they see what others want them to be and they become that, and then they don't know the difference between that image and themselves. They don't realize that there's a real self that's separate from the image when they're in personality. But of course, that's their growth path. And sexual 3s can be the 3s that are most disconnected from themselves and most oriented toward sort of creating a positive, attractive image and not know who they are inside. And oftentimes that means they're a bit sad underneath, although they may have a hard time getting in touch with those feelings. So thank you for listening to my introduction of the subtypes, and now I hope you'll watch the 6 interviews I've done with 6 different type 3s of the 3 different subtypes.